Dr. Ethan Harris stood quietly at the edge of the Zifran landing pad, his heart racing with a cocktail of excitement and nerves. Beside him, Captain Lucas Graham, a grizzled veteran of space exploration, adjusted the settings on his communicator. "Remember, no sudden movements," Lucas muttered under his breath. "We don't know how they'll interpret our gestures." Ethan nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the Zephyrians would soon appear. He had spent years studying alien cultures, but nothing could have prepared him for this moment. First contact with a living, breathing, non-human civilization. The silence was broken by the soft hum of an approaching Zephyrian delegation. 3 figures, glowing faintly in the twilight, floated towards them. Their leader, Lyriel, stopped a few feet away, her luminescent eyes studying the humans intently. "Ethan Harris," Ethan began, stepping forward with his hand outstretched, then hesitating. He remembered the briefing. The Zephyrians might not appreciate human contact gestures. Lyriel smiled, a gentle curve of her translucent lips, and mimicked his gesture, extending her hand. Their palms met, and a rush of warm energy filled the air. "We are honored by your welcome," Lyriel said, her voice musical and resonant. "I am Lyriel, assigned to be your liaison during your stay on Zifra." Behind Ethan, Dr. Mark Jensen, a fellow anthropologist, whispered excitedly, "Can you believe this, Ethan? It's actually happening." Ethan turned briefly to share a grin with Mark. "It's more than I could have imagined." Lucas cleared his throat, stepping forward to join the greeting. "Captain Lucas Graham," he introduced himself, nodding his head respectfully. "We come in peace and hope to learn from each other." Lyriel's companions, Silas and Myrene, introduced themselves in turn, their voices echoing Lyriel's harmonious tone. Silas, with a gaze as deep as the ocean, looked particularly intrigued by the human technology. "May we show you our village?" Lyriel offered. "We've prepared a place for discussions and exchange." "We'd be grateful," Ethan replied, aware of the hundreds of academic questions bubbling up inside him. As they walked towards the village, Ethan noticed the natural beauty of Zifra. The vegetation was unlike anything on Earth, with bioluminescent plants lining the path, casting an ethereal glow on their faces. "Your planet is beautiful," Mark commented, unable to contain his academic curiosity. "Do the plants serve a function beyond aesthetics?" Lyriel laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Yes, they are part of our ecosystem's balance, providing light and nourishment, and even communication through their luminescence." "Communication?" Lucas asked, intrigued. "Yes," Myrene joined in, her voice excited. "The plants can sense environmental changes and communicate these to us through variations in their glow." Fascinated, Ethan took notes on his digital pad, his mind racing with implications for his research. The walk turned into an animated exchange of questions and answers, with both humans and Zephyrians eager to learn about each other's worlds. As they reached the village, Ethan felt a profound sense of purpose. This mission was not just about exploration. It was about understanding and connecting with a whole new world. As he looked at Lyriel, who was patiently explaining her planet's customs, he realized that this encounter could change the course of human understanding forever. "Tonight we dine together," Lyriel announced as they approached a large, glowing structure. "We celebrate our new friendship." Ethan nodded, feeling a deep sense of anticipation. The journey ahead promised revelations and challenges, but for now he was ready to embrace the unknown with open arms and an open heart. Chapter 2. Language of the Heart. The next morning, under the soft hues of Zifra's dual suns, Dr. Ethan Harris and Captain Lucas Graham made their way to a designated meeting area, where Lyriel awaited them, accompanied by Silas and 2 other Zephyrians. The mood was one of eager anticipation, as today they would delve deeper into the complexities of their respective languages and cultural expressions. "Good morning, Lyriel, Silas," Ethan greeted them, his voice bright and enthusiastic. "We're ready to begin our exchange." "Good morning, Ethan, Lucas," Lyriel responded, her voice warm. "Today, we hope to bridge our worlds through words and understanding." Lucas, who had been more reserved, offered a nod. "Looking forward to it. Let's get started." They sat around a circular table, devices ready to record and translate. Ethan introduced his colleague, Dr. Mark Jensen, who would assist with linguistic documentation. "Let's start with basic greetings and common phrases," suggested Mark, powering up his device. Lyriel nodded, and she and Silas demonstrated several Zephyrian greetings, explaining the context in which each would be used. The humans repeated the phrases, occasionally stumbling over the unfamiliar sounds, which brought about light-hearted laughter from both sides. "As in many languages, context is key," Lyriel explained. "The tone, the situation, and even the time of day can change the meaning." Ethan took diligent notes, fascinated. "Could you explain how you would express gratitude? We've noticed several different expressions since we arrived." "Certainly," Silas chimed in. He outlined the subtleties of their gratitude expressions, from casual thanks to deep, heartfelt appreciation. "For profound gratitude, we often use a gesture as well," he demonstrated, placing his hand over his heart. Lucas, watching closely, mirrored the gesture. "Like this." "Exactly," Myrene said, joining the conversation. "It's about showing sincerity, not just in words but in actions." The morning passed in a flurry of linguistic exchange, with both parties growing increasingly animated. After a short break, they reconvened to discuss cultural practices. Ethan was particularly interested in Zephyrian rituals. "Could you tell us about any ceremonies that are central to your culture?" Lyriel was happy to share. "One of the most important ceremonies is the welcoming of the moons, where we celebrate the alignment of our moons. It's a time of renewal and reflection." The discussion took a deeper dive into the philosophy behind the ceremony, allowing the humans to draw parallels with their own cultural practices. Lucas, typically more focused on the practical aspects, found himself intrigued by the philosophical depth of the Zephyrians. As the session drew to a close, Ethan expressed his gratitude, using the Zephyrian gesture he had learned. "We've learned so much today, thank you." Lyriel smiled, placing her hand over her heart in response. "The pleasure is ours, Ethan. Understanding is the first step towards true friendship." They agreed to meet again the next day to continue their exchange, with plans to visit some of the sites Lyriel had mentioned. As they walked back to their quarters, Lucas turned to Ethan. "You know, I didn't expect to be this engaged. There's something about learning another culture's language and rituals that's deeply satisfying." Ethan nodded in agreement. "It's more than just words and gestures, isn't it? It's about seeing the world through their eyes." As the two suns began to set, casting long shadows over the landscape, the humans felt a growing connection to this alien world, a sign of the many possibilities that lay ahead. They returned to their quarters, minds buzzing with ideas and hearts a little fuller from the day's rich exchange. Chapter 3. Unseen Threads. The next morning dawned bright and clear on Zifra, and Dr. Ethan Harris, along with Captain Lucas Graham, joined Lyriel and her colleague, a Zephyrian named Oren, at the edge of the village. Today's agenda was unique. They were to learn about Zephyrian ways of non-verbal communication, a profound aspect of their interpersonal interactions. "Today we introduce you to our energy fields," Lyriel began, her voice infused with a hint of excitement. "Zephyrians communicate emotions and thoughts through them, a practice deeply integrated into our daily lives." Lucas looked skeptical but intrigued. "Energy fields, huh? Sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel." Oren chuckled, a sound that reminded Ethan of gentle waves lapping at the shore. Many human tales mirror the truths of the universe in ways you might not expect, he responded. Ethan, always eager to learn, asked, "How do we begin?" Lyriel guided them to sit in a circle on the soft, luminescent grass. "First, we calm our minds and become aware of our own energy. I will guide you through the process." The group closed their eyes, following Lyriel's soothing instructions to breathe deeply and visualize their energy radiating outward. After a few minutes, Ethan felt a tingling sensation around him and opened his eyes in amazement. "Very good, Ethan," Lyriel said, smiling. "You're quite receptive. Now," Oren took over, "try to project a simple emotion. Let's start with something easy like peace." Ethan focused, attempting to project calmness. Beside him, Lucas was visibly trying to concentrate, his brow furrowed in concentration. After a moment, Oren nodded. "I can sense your intentions, though it's a bit mixed. It takes practice." Lucas opened one eye and looked at Oren. "You can actually feel that?" "Yes," Oren replied. "And with more practice, you will be able to sense others' emotions as clearly as you hear their words." Intrigued by the concept, Mark, who had joined them to observe, asked, "Is this ability something you learn, or is it innate?" "Both," Lyriel answered. "We are born with this ability, but training enhances it. It's essential for our social interactions and relationships." The morning passed with the group, practicing this new form of communication. They took turns projecting different emotions, trying to listen and interpret what each member was sending. The initial awkwardness gave way to a playful challenge, with each trying to stump the others with complex emotions. As they took a break, Ethan remarked, "This is unlike anything I've ever experienced. It's like learning a whole new sense." Lucas, usually reserved, shared a rare insight. "I can see how this could change interactions." "No hiding what you really feel, huh?" "Exactly," Oren said. "It fosters honesty and understanding, but requires openness and vulnerability." Eager to explore further, Ethan suggested, "Could we try combining verbal and non-verbal communication? See how they enhance each other." "That's an excellent idea," Lyriel agreed. They spent the next hour engaging in conversations that blended spoken language with emotional projections. By the end of the session, the group had not only gained a new skill but also deepened their understanding of each other. As they walked back to the village, Ethan felt a deeper connection to his team and their Zephyrian hosts, appreciating the new levels of empathy and connection the exercise had fostered. "This was more enlightening than I expected," Lucas confessed as they neared their quarters. "Makes you wonder what other capabilities are out there, waiting to be discovered." Ethan nodded, his mind alive with possibilities. "Every day here shows us how much more there is to learn, not just about the Zephyrians, but about ourselves." As they parted ways for the evening, the fading light cast long shadows across the village, mirroring the lingering thoughts in Ethan's mind about the unseen threads that connect all beings, seen and unseen. Chapter 4. A different kind of intimacy. Under the silver glow of Zifra's gentle moons, Dr. Ethan Harris and Captain Lucas Graham strolled towards the village outskirts where they were scheduled to meet Lyriel and Oren. The night was dedicated to exploring one of the most intimate aspects of Zephyrian culture, the bonding ceremony, a non-physical connection that was said to be profoundly moving. As they arrived at the designated clearing, illuminated by the bioluminescent flora, they found Lyriel and Oren waiting for them, their expressions serene. "Tonight, we share with you the essence of our spiritual connection," Lyriel began, her voice soft in the quiet of the night. "This is something we usually reserve for those we are close to, but given our growing friendship, we would like to extend this honor to you." Lucas nodded appreciatively, his usual reserve softened by the gravity of the moment. "We're grateful to be included in something so personal." Oren gestured for them to sit in a circle on the ground. "The bonding ceremony is about connecting energies on a deep, emotional level. It's much more than the exercises we did this morning. Ethan sat, feeling the cool grass beneath him, his heart open to whatever experiences lay ahead. Beside him, Lucas seemed unusually contemplative, perhaps considering the implications of such deep connections. Lyriel instructed them to close their eyes and reach out their hands towards the center of the circle. "Focus on the person across from you," she said. "Think of your respect and admiration for them. Let those feelings flow through your hands." Ethan focused on Lyriel, recalling their conversations, her wisdom, and her kindness. Across from him, he could feel a warm energy building, a tangible presence in the cool night air. As the minutes passed, the space between them seemed charged with an electric, yet peaceful, energy. Ethan felt a rush of emotions, not his own, but emanating from Lyriel. It was a profound sharing of joy, curiosity, and a deep-seated peace. "How do you feel?" Lyriel's voice broke the silence, her tone imbued with genuine interest. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, almost reluctant to break the connection. "It's incredible," he said, his voice hushed in awe. "I felt emotions that weren't mine, but they were familiar, comforting." Lucas, who had been connecting with Oren, added, "It's a lot to process, but it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. There's a clarity to it, an honesty that's overwhelming." Oren smiled, pleased. "The ceremony allows us to understand each other on a fundamental level, beyond words and superficial interactions. It's the essence of true empathy." The group remained quiet for a moment, each processing the profound emotional exchange they had experienced. Then Lyriel suggested, "Let's walk back together. We can discuss more or simply enjoy the night, whatever feels right." As they walked back towards the village, the atmosphere was reflective. The moons cast long shadows on the path, and the glowing plants seemed to echo the tranquility of the evening. Ethan broke the silence, his voice thoughtful. "This ceremony, does it always lead to such deep connections, or does it vary?" "It can vary," Lyriel replied. "Much depends on the individuals involved and their willingness to be open and vulnerable. But what you experience tonight is a good representation of what we strive for." Lucas, typically more guarded, shared a rare insight. "It's a powerful way to build trust. I can see how this would bond individuals, making them stronger together than they are apart." The discussion continued until they reached the village. As they said their goodnights, Ethan felt a renewed sense of connection not only to the Zephyrians but to his own team. The bonding ceremony had opened new doors of understanding, revealing the potential for deeper relationships based on mutual respect and shared emotional landscapes. As Ethan lay in his quarters later that night, the experience lingered in his mind, a profound reminder of the many forms intimacy could take, bridging worlds and species with a universal language of emotions. Chapter 5. Reflections in the Mirror Lake. Early the next morning, Dr. Ethan Harris, accompanied by Captain Lucas Graham, ventured with Lyriel and Oren to one of Zifra's most revered natural wonders, the Mirror Lake. According to Lyriel, the lake was not only a stunning visual spectacle, but also held significant cultural importance to the Zephyrians. As they approached, the lake's surface, perfectly still and clear, reflected the vibrant colors of the Zephyrian sky and the verdant foliage surrounding it. "This place is considered sacred," Lyriel explained, her voice mixing reverence with a hint of excitement. "It's here that many of us come to reflect, literally and figuratively." Lucas, typically less expressive about landscapes, couldn't hide his admiration. "It's like a painting," he remarked, looking around appreciatively. Ethan, always curious about the intersection of nature and culture, asked, "What makes this lake a focal point for your people?" Oren, who had been quiet during the walk, spoke up. "It's believed that the lake's waters are a mirror to the soul. They reflect not just our physical appearance, but our innermost thoughts and emotions." Intrigued, Ethan suggested, "Could we try that? I mean, Is it possible for us to experience this reflection? Lyriel nodded. Of course. Let's sit by the shore and spend some time in contemplation. They each found a spot along the water's edge. The lake, undisturbed by wind or wildlife, was a perfect mirror, and as Ethan gazed into it, he felt a calming presence wash over him. After several minutes, they regrouped to share their experiences. Lucas spoke first, surprisingly open. I saw myself, not just my face but something deeper. It was disconcerting but enlightening. Ethan, reflecting on his own experience, shared, I felt a connection, as if the lake recognized me, knew me. It's hard to explain, but it felt like a dialogue without words. Lyriel smiled. The lake is a teacher of sorts. It shows us what we need to see, not always what we want to see. Oren added, it's a place for learning about oneself and for contemplating the paths we choose in life. The group decided to walk around the lake, absorbing the serene atmosphere. As they walked, they discussed the nature of love and connection across different cultures. Ethan was particularly interested in how these concepts were viewed by the Zephyrians. Love for us is deeply tied to understanding, Lyriel explained. It goes beyond physical or even emotional attraction. It's about truly seeing and accepting another's essence. Lucas, usually more reserved with his thoughts on such topics, chimed in. It's similar for us, though maybe we don't always put it into words that way. There's a universal quest to connect, to find someone who understands us. As the conversation deepened, Ethan observed, from a human's gaze to an alien's soul, our connection seems unbroken by the vastness of space. We're not that different when it comes to the fundamentals of life. They continued their walk in thoughtful silence, each pondering the truths shared. The day at Mirror Lake proved to be more than a simple outing. It was a journey into the depths of their beings, facilitated by the tranquil waters that reflected not just their forms but their inner worlds. Returning to the village, Ethan felt a profound sense of peace and understanding. The discussions and the reflective silence at the lake had opened new avenues of thought about what it means to connect with another, regardless of the vast differences between their worlds. That night, as he recorded his thoughts and observations, Ethan realized that this experience would remain with him long after their mission ended, a lasting memory of the connection between human and Zephyrian hearts. Chapter 6. Cultural Ripples. The following day, the buzz about Dr. Ethan Harris and Captain Lucas Graham's unprecedented engagement with the Zephyrians reached not only the rest of their human expedition team, but also permeated deeper into the Zephyrian community. As Ethan and Lucas met up with Lyriel and Oren for their scheduled activities, it was clear that their relationship had become a subject of fascination and speculation. As they walked towards the community center, a space designed for cultural exchange, Ethan noted the curious glances from both Zephyrians and humans alike. It seems we've become quite the celebrities around here, he commented, half joking. Lucas, adjusting the strap of his bag, replied, I guess it's not every day that humans and Zephyrians share such intimate exchanges. Do you think it might cause any issues? Lyriel, overhearing the conversation, assured them, on the contrary, your willingness to embrace our customs has sparked a lot of interest in human culture among my people. It's a positive development. Oren added, there is much to be gained from mutual understanding. The interest is a good sign, but we should navigate it carefully to ensure it remains positive. They arrived at the community center, where a small group of Zephyrians and humans had gathered, eager to learn more about each other's ways. Ethan and Lucas were invited to share their experiences with Zephyrian communication techniques, and Lyriel presented insights into human emotional expressions, which she had learned from Ethan. Dr. Mark Jensen, who had joined the gathering, raised a point during the discussion. While these exchanges are enriching, how do we address the potential misunderstandings that might arise from such deep cultural intertwinings? A Zephyrian elder, who had been listening intently, responded, misunderstandings are inevitable. However, it is how we address and learn from them that matters. Each incident is a chance to deepen our understanding. Ethan found the elder's words reassuring. He then shared a story about a minor miscommunication from earlier in the week that had led to a humorous situation, lightening the mood and illustrating the elder's point. The dialogue turned to discussing various cultural symbols and their meanings. Lucas, who had developed an interest in Zephyrian symbols, asked, "Could you explain the significance of the spiral motif we see around the village?" Oren was pleased to elaborate. The spiral represents the journey of life and the continuous growth of our spirit and understanding. It's a sacred symbol to us. The conversation deepened, with both groups sharing similar symbols from their own cultures, finding common ground despite their different origins. The session not only served to educate, but also to bond the two groups further. As the meeting concluded, Lucas stayed back to discuss more with Oren about Zephyrian architecture, which used these symbols in its designs. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lyriel walked outside, discussing the day's events. Lyriel remarked, "I've noticed a shift in perception among my people. Your team's openness has been instrumental in bridging our worlds." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "I hope this continues beyond our mission here. It's important for both our worlds." As they parted ways, Ethan and Lucas reflected on the day's events. The discussions had not only fostered deeper cultural insights, but had also shown the ripple effects of their interactions, spreading interest and understanding in waves through both their communities. That evening, as Ethan documented the day in his journal, he felt optimistic about the future. The cultural ripples created by their interactions seemed to be moving in a promising direction, shaping a path toward sustained interstellar friendship and understanding. Chapter 7. The Test of Time. As the human expedition's time on Zifra approached its end, Dr. Ethan Harris and Captain Lucas Graham met with Lyriel and Oren to discuss the future implications of their joint cultural exchanges. The air was tinged with a bittersweet feeling, knowing that the daily interactions and deep connections forged would soon be paused. "Your departure is fast approaching," Lyriel noted as they gathered in the community center, her tone mixed with sadness and gratitude. "It's hard to believe how quickly the time has passed." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of the impending separation. "It's been an incredible journey. I never expected to form such a strong bond with you all. The question now is, where do we go from here?" Lucas, typically more reserved with his emotions, added, "The relationships and understandings we've built. I'd hate to see them fade away with distance." Oren, ever the philosopher among the group, responded thoughtfully, "Distance tests the strength and depth of connections. It does not have to mean the end. We have technology to bridge spaces between us, and we have the desire to continue this dialogue." Ethan felt a spark of hope at Oren's words. "Perhaps we could set up regular communications, exchange visits, even collaborate on projects that benefit both our peoples." Lyriel was quick to support the idea. "I believe there's much support for that on our side. The Council has seen the benefits of our interaction. We could propose a formal continuation of exchanges, maybe even an interstellar cultural exchange program." The group discussed potential projects, including joint research initiatives and educational exchanges. Mark, who had joined the meeting, suggested, "What about a shared digital archive? A place where both our peoples can access the knowledge and cultural artifacts we've shared and continue to contribute to." Oren looked pleased. "A living library of our combined cultures. That's a brilliant idea." As they detailed the plans, the mood shifted from somber to constructive, each person contributing ideas and solutions. Lucas, who had a knack for logistics, began outlining the steps they would need to take to propose and establish such programs. "The first step is getting approval from both our governments," Lucas noted. "But with the groundwork we've laid and the evident benefits, I'm optimistic about our chances." Ethan agreed. his mind racing with possibilities. We'll need to document everything. Our findings, our experiences, the personal stories. It's the personal connections that will really sell this to the decision-makers. As the meeting drew to a close, Lyriel invited everyone to a farewell dinner that evening, wanting to celebrate the time spent and the future possibilities. The dinner was a mix of Zephyrian and human cuisine, symbolizing the blending of their cultures. The atmosphere was festive, yet reflective, as everyone shared their favorite memories of the past months. During the dinner, Ethan took a moment to express his feelings. "I came here as a researcher, but I'm leaving with much more than data. I'm leaving with new friends and a second home." Lyriel, moved by his words, replied, "And you will always be welcome here, Ethan. This is not the end, but a new beginning." After dinner, as Ethan walked back to his quarters under the starlit sky, he felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment and anticipation. The test of time would indeed be the ultimate challenge for their interstellar friendship, but with the foundations they had built, he was confident that their connection would endure. Documenting the final details in his journal that night, Ethan felt a profound connection to everything he had experienced on Zifra. It was a reminder that even among the stars, human connections could find a way to thrive. Chapter 8. A Connection Unbroken. On the morning of their departure, Dr. Ethan Harris and Captain Lucas Graham joined their Zephyrian friends at the landing site for one last goodbye. The air was crisp, and the dual suns of Zifra cast a bittersweet light over the scene. Despite the solemnity of the moment, there was an undercurrent of excitement about the future possibilities that lay ahead. Ethan faced Lyriel, finding it difficult to articulate his feelings. "I never thought I'd have such a hard time saying goodbye," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. Lyriel smiled, her luminous eyes reflecting both sadness and understanding. "It's not goodbye, Ethan. It's until next time. We have plans now, projects that will keep us connected." Lucas, standing beside Ethan, nodded in agreement. "We've laid the groundwork for something great, a true partnership. We'll be back, and we'll bring more of our people with us." Oren, always thoughtful, added, "The bonds we've formed here go beyond simple friendship. They are a profound connection that will continue to grow, regardless of distance." Mark, who had been packing equipment, joined the group. "I've started setting up the digital archive. We'll continue to share and learn from each other. It's going to be a living bridge between our cultures." Ethan felt a surge of gratitude for his team and their Zephyrian counterparts. "Thank you, all of you, for being open to this experience. What we've started here will evolve into something even greater." As they prepared to board their shuttle, Captain Graham turned to Lyriel. "Keep the communication lines open, and expect a lot of traffic from our side. You might get tired of seeing us." Lyriel laughed, a sound that echoed lightly across the landing pad. "We look forward to it. Safe travels, my friends." The group exchanged heartfelt hugs and handshakes, with promises to meet again soon. As Ethan entered the shuttle, he took one last look at the vibrant landscape of Zifra, committing it to memory. The journey back to Earth was quiet, each member of the team lost in their own thoughts, reflecting on the experiences they had shared. Lucas broke the silence as Earth came into view, a blue and green orb suspended in the vastness of space. "It's strange to think about how small our world looks from up here, yet our connections span galaxies," he mused. Ethan agreed, looking out the shuttle window. "From a human's gaze to an alien soul, our connection seems unbroken by the vastness of space. It's a reminder of how much more there is to explore and understand." The shuttle touched down on Earth a few hours later, greeted by a team eager to hear about their experiences. As Ethan stepped onto the tarmac, he felt a profound sense of purpose and anticipation. In the weeks that followed, the team debriefed, shared stories, and began the extensive process of documenting their findings. The digital archive grew, filled with Zephyrian texts, images, and shared knowledge, a testament to their ongoing collaboration. Ethan often found himself at his desk, gazing at the stars, thinking of Lyriel and the friends he had made on Zifra. He knew that the connections they had forged were just the beginning. With each passing day, he worked tirelessly to ensure that the bridge between their worlds remained strong and vibrant. In his heart, Ethan knew that the journey to Zifra was only the first chapter in a much larger story, a story of exploration, understanding, and the unbreakable bonds of interstellar friendship. As he planned his return to Zifra, he was filled with a sense of wonder and excitement for the future, ready to continue the adventure that had started with a single step onto an alien world.